You are watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. Join the Business Heroine community today at businessheroinemagazine.com. And now, tune into the show.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ann Perry, founder of Business Heroine, and today we have an interview, there's air quotes, interview for you, different than anything we've ever done before. And that's because I'm kind of part of the interview. I'm here with my dear friend, incurable entrepreneur, Amanda Aitken. Say hi, Amanda.
Hi, guys.
And we're here to really interview each other, I guess you could say, about Business Magic Laboratory, which is a talk show we created together where imagination brews, inspiration bubbles, and action ignites. So we figured rather than do a traditional interview for this cover of Business Heroine Magazine, we would just kind of jump in and have an episode and do a video episode instead of an audio episode like we normally do. So what do you say? You want to just jump in, Amanda?
Let's do it. Let's walk into the lab.
Let's walk into the lab. And you know, before we walk in, I want to tell you a little bit about who Amanda is, because you may know me from previous interviews of Business Heroine Magazine, if that's how you're finding us today. Maybe you're finding us through Business Magic Laboratory, in which case, hello, I'm Ann, if you met Amanda first. So I'm founder of Business Heroine and basically created this magazine because I spent so many years just trapped in this 9-to-5 life that always sort of deep down felt like a hoax to me, and I always believed there had to be another way. So Business Heroine Magazine became a platform to really broadcast the voices of women who have decided to carve their own path and do things their own way. And that's what I do in my own business coaching too, is help new entrepreneurs get their ideas out of their head and into the world. And Amanda Aitken is a psychic medium, a passionate ambassador of the unseen world, and a self-professed incurable entrepreneur, which I so love that, and I kind of piggybacked on that for Business Magic Lab because I love it. So you may also know Amanda as the creator of the Girls Guide courses. So Girls Guide to Web Design, the Girls Guide to Graphic Design, Girls Guide to Creative Bloom, and most recently the Girls Guide to the Laws of the Universe, which is super juicy. So here we are.
Here we are.
So Amanda, do you have anything, before we kind of just jump in to the lab, well here we are, we're in the lab, but do you have anything you want to share as far as how we met and just kind of introducing what Business Magic Laboratory is?
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of funny because Ann and I are basically the same person. And we were out there in the world having no idea that the other existed for a very long time. And the way we met was at an entrepreneurial retreat in the San Diego area, almost exactly a year ago, actually.
Yeah.
And I remember the moment we met. We were staying at the hotel we were staying at, and we met in the lobby. And it was, the first time we encountered each other, and we immediately got into a really animated yet deep conversation. I forget what it was about, but something magical or spiritual or businessy or all three, because that's basically what the Business Magic Laboratory is about and the gist of all of our conversations. And we just became fast friends pretty much instantly. And since then, we have realized more and more that we have so many bizarre things in common. Like, for example, we just sat down to film this episode, and Anne's like, I think we're wearing the same sweater. Like, I don't know if you guys can...
Cozy, warm sweater. Yeah.
With this, same color, same braiding, anyway.
And our coffee mugs.
Oh, yeah, and our mugs are also...
Which aren't the same, but we both have mugs, and so
they're reminiscent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, we became friends. We started talking all the time. We used this app on our phones called Voxer to leave messages for each other throughout the day. And we have a great time chatting about business and just sharing everything that's going on in our lives. And our lives really, I would say, well, primarily at least mine, revolves around my business. And, we're very passionate about the work that we do and the message that we have. So we talk all the time. And eventually we had the idea to create a show. And there were actually a lot of different Voxes we left for each other over the months, kind of over the summer, being like, what should we call it? We knew what the gist of it would be, but we didn't know about a name, and eventually we landed on the Business Magic Laboratory because that just perfectly encapsulates what we're all about, which is taking these ideas and then bringing them out into the world and making them real. And it's almost this magical process of bubbling and brewing, and and then we created this show, and we've been having a blast with it ever since.
And experimenting too, experimenting and messing up and just going, oh cool, that was interesting, learning. And you know, like those best inventions that are created by accident, or like those scientific breakthroughs that are, you know, so it's like permission slips to just experiment and try things and go for it and follow intuition and all of that. So yeah, that was so beautifully said.
Oh,
So welcome everyone who is joining us in the lab today. So normally, you know, this podcast or this talk show is shared via audio. So this is our very first time doing it video. Maybe our last, because we do what we want, and who knows what we're going to want to do in the future. So yeah, so when we come into the lab and we have our talk show, we meet up ahead of time and we're like, so what's been, you know, new for you? What are you feeling passionate about talking about today? Because the topics that we come up with are usually just what we talk about anyway, like the messages we leave for each other in Vox are just very much kind of musing and bantering about life and business and all things magical. So where do we want to start today? I know, you know where I want to start is you shared something with me, Amanda, on Voxer the other day that I was like, this is so fascinating. You were talking about one of the ego's mind trips that, you know, like when you're about to break through to something big, fear comes in, or like something comes in that tries to stop us and keep us comfortable and keep us where we are because we're about to break through to a new level. And Amanda, you identified one that was really cool. Like, tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it's so funny
because
this
cool,
is something that, like, kind of annoying, but at least I know what it is now.
Right.
And I think all of us, okay, so this is a universal thing, right? Like, everyone who's listening or watching, I guess, can definitely attest to the fact that if you have your own business, you're going to come up against these points where you start to get really uncomfortable, and you might not even experience it as traditional fear or traditional discomfort, but you're about to figure something out that's going to propel you to the next level. So you have the ego part of your brain that's like, wait a second, this is unsafe. We can't let this happen. Like, if she's going to be, you know, doing these amazing things and reaching all these extra people, it's dangerous. It's not safe, because our ego is related to that reptilian part of our brain, which believes it's all about survival, and it's about standing out is not safe, because you think about like nature. If you stand out, you know, you're going to get eaten. Like, it's all based in that type of thing. So anyway, basically, for me, what I realize is that whenever I'm trying to think my way through something that's going to be, usually it's about a launch. So, for example, I've been working on the launch of the Girl's Guide to the Laws of the Universe, and I was trying to strategize and kind of think through the structure of it and all that. And I suddenly got this feeling in my brain, which I've had many times before, and I call it molasses in the brain. Because it's literally like, you know, I'm thinking, everything is working at a decent speed in my brain. I can picture a bunch of gears, you know, humming away, like things are working, and I'm having, you know, there are ideas, and it's all flowing. And then suddenly I can feel the gears start to grind to a halt. And it's like, oh no, here's the molasses feeling, here it comes, and then it's like the molasses starts coagulating, and it clogs up the whole system. And it's like I literally can't grasp on to coherent thoughts anymore. And I always just kind of thought it was because I'm not good at thinking through structural things. Like, that's what I told myself. But then I realized, finally, after this happening for probably 4 years every now and then, just the other day, I realized, wait a second, maybe this isn't a real thing at all. Maybe this is just one of my ego's tricks to get me to stop working on this launch that's going to allow me to reach a whole bunch of people and, you know, up level and have this big leap in my life and my business. And it was such a, well, just such a crazy, amazing insight, because I was like, aha, like, I've got you. I know what you're trying to do. And just very empowering. So, molasses, who knew?
Molasses. It's like the opposite of eureka. It's like the opposite of when things are just all of a sudden clear. It's like, I feel like I know this. Why is this so hard for me to understand right now? I get that same thing, actually.
Yeah, just kind of like a fuzzy, I don't know.
Like, it feels way complicated and way hard, and you're like, this didn't seem hard the other day when I was thinking of it, and now that it's like I'm taking action on it or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm a relatively intelligent person. Like this should be able to happen, but so it's amazing how sneaky your ego can be. And I invite everyone who's watching to think back to times when you've been working on something that may have been, indicative of you being about to take a giant leap forward in your business, and think, like, does your ego have a special trick that it pulls out? Whether it's full-on terror or it's something weird like making your brain slow down, or just distraction sometimes, I think, is a big one. Like, you suddenly get this urge to just like, oh, I have to go and, tidy my bedroom or fold laundry or something.
Yeah, for me, unfortunately, terror is sometimes one of them. I hate that one. But yeah, I mean, or kind of like a weird pit in my stomach, like I'm doing something wrong, or like I'm being, and thoughts that are like, I don't even know if it's a fully formed thought, but feelings and words like irresponsible, like am I being irresponsible by taking some certain leap of faith, by like investing in a program that like kind of scares the crap out of me to invest in, or something like that, like something I've never done, and then it's just kind of like, do you know what you're doing? Is this smart? Yeah. But then there's a phrase that I really love, which is don't believe everything you think,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, because those thoughts are they true, like spirit coming through, or are they our ego trying to keep us comfortable and stuck where we are?
Yeah, completely. It's like there really is two different voices in your head sometimes. Actually, the majority of the time, the way I see it, it's like there's a combination of those, that inspired, spirit aspect that comes down from above, and then there's also the whole aspect of the ego voice that likes to give you a hard time about things and bring up this idea of like, well, I don't know, are you being responsible? Is this a good idea? Maybe you should be focusing on something else. And it will really do anything it can to disrupt and to keep you. It's coming from a good place. Like, you can think of the ego as a really overprotective mother, kind of. Mm-hmm. But it's still annoying. It's like, but as long as you know that it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom. Anyway, but as long as you know it's there. It's like you can learn how to work with it, basically. Like, for example, what that feeling feels like for you, and you can at least be like, okay, I know what's going on. I can choose to disregard this, right?
Yeah, so what happened for you when you realized that molasses mind was actually like an ego's trick to block you from something? Did it clear up the molasses mind, or did it just kind of take away the judgment of it? What happened?
Well, in the actual moment, I think what my ego kind of won, or the molasses kind of won out, because I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. It feels too difficult. And I left my computer. I think I like shut down the computer for the day. Well, not actually shut it down, because I pretty much leave it on all the time. But I walked away. I was like, I'm done for the day. But in retrospect, it has allowed me to, I think the biggest thing almost is it has allowed me to look at myself with more, what's the word? Just more sort of forgiveness, or look at myself more gently, because I think I thought there was something wrong with me, like, that my mental process stops working at a certain point or whatever. And now I'm like, you know what? It's not actually me that's doing that. It's this other, little voice in the back of my head, and it's just trying to keep me safe, and there's not actually anything wrong with me and my ability to plan launches, basically. Right. So that's a nice relieving feeling.
Yeah, to not be so harsh on yourself or judging yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so speaking of judgment, I had this massive, it was a eureka kind of moment, like a big aha, like forehead slap moment, like it's been there the whole time. And all of a sudden, it was so clear. And it happened when I was in at the gym in my favorite fitness class, UJam.
UJam.
It's so fun.
I really wish we had UJam in Montreal, but we don't.
I know. UJam, it just, it's the best. So for those of you who don't know what UJam is, or don't, it's kind of like Zumba, but more like hip hop and world music, but mostly hip hop. And it is just so ridiculously fun. If you have 24-hour fitness where you are, everyone pretty much has 24-hour fitness, but it may be there, because that's where they are, is in 24-hour fitness. But they kind of started in California and have spread a little bit. So look it up, because I wish for your sake, whoever is viewing this right now that you have UGM. Anyway, so I was in there, and I had this insight because what I realized was that, like, I kind of caught myself avoiding looking at myself in the mirror. And then all of a sudden I realized that this had been actually, it's like a habit. It's a way of being that I adopted a really long time ago. I honestly don't even remember when, probably middle school or something like that, where I made a decision that looking at yourself in the mirror is like a vain thing to do. And I feel like maybe a friend, I don't know if I came up with this idea myself or if a friend said something, but it was kind of like, you know, like mirror face, like when people are putting on their makeup. And I mean, there's like, okay, there's this mirror face where it's like you need to like make your face do something so that you can get the mascara on or like whatever. But then there's like mirror face where it's like, and like when people are like giving themselves sexy eyes and stuff like that, like I have always found it so awkward. But I don't know if the truth is that I've always found it awkward, or if that somebody like told me it was awkward, and so then therefore I created a judgment around it. But basically, this judgment that I've been carrying has been has created a behavior of my own, which is to go out of my way to not be that person who's doing that thing, which I find like awkward or embarrassing. So like if I'm walking by a glass building where you can see a reflection, it's like eyes forward. Like I don't look and check out my butt, because if I looked and checked out my butt, that would be embarrassing. Or in the mirror, like the, you know, public bathrooms, you know, I just wash my hands, and maybe I would look at my hair. Never would I look at my eyes. Never ever would I look at my eyes and be like, ooh, like give myself sexy eyes. So anyway, what I realized, because there was this girl in my UGM class who was just like owning it, and it was really awesome. And she was like gazing at herself in the mirror, and the fan was blowing on her and like blowing her hair, and I was like, she looks like Beyonce. Like she looks awesome. She's just kind of like, you know, like enjoying watching herself. And so like part of me was judging it, and then underneath that judgment it was like envy. And I went, oh, like maybe the things that we judge in other people are actually things we secretly wish that we had permission to do, or secretly wish we could give ourselves permission to do. And so then it was like, whoa, like my mind just was kind of blown right open. I was like, what if we gave ourselves permission to do that which we're judging in other people? And what would that make available to us? Because what if there's something in there for us? Like what if, I mean, me not being comfortable to look at my own eyes in the mirror, like, is that does that mean I'm vain if I look at my eyes in the mirror, or does it mean I'm embracing self-love? Like, what am I blocking myself from? And that's just a very small, specific thing. But think about it, like all the things that maybe we judge people for, like posting a bunch of selfies on Facebook, or like walking into a room being like, hey guys, I'm here. You know, or like whatever the thing is, or like not saying thank you, or I don't know, like just like assuming that they're going to get their way, or different things like that. Like what if when we find ourselves judging somebody, what if we said, instead of judging it, I'm going to see that there's something in there available to me, and I'm actually going to give myself permission to do that thing. And I feel like on so many levels it could, first of all, it can bring compassion and non-judgment for other people. Second of all, we might find out that there's like a breakthrough in there. And third, even just the act of doing something that feels so contrary to what we think we should do is a stretch of the comfort zone, and a practicing of trying on a different way of being, that even if we try it and we decide, yeah, that really isn't me, like just the act of trying it has got to like rattle up some calcified sort of limiting beliefs or behaviors. Do you know what I mean? Totally. And I think it's so cool how we can use our emotions, like those little twinges of things, whether it's like envy or annoyance, like often it's even the negative emotions like that, as a clue to figure out, okay, what does that lead me back to in terms of almost like a gift that you're not
allowing yourself to give to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so in this case, it's like the gift of just like allowing yourself to enjoy really feeling good in your own skin, right? Like that's probably what it's so interesting, and that's why I think it's so important to pay attention to what we're feeling about things, because if you trace it back, it leads you to an amazing insight. Like I love the idea that you were having this, like, were you actually having this insight, the gears turning in your brain while you were like grooving to UJam? Like you were doing both at once?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So ever since then, I've been practicing, and I'm telling you, it's not comfortable at all.
Yeah.
But I've been actually trying to look at myself, like look at my eyes when I'm working, because it's one thing to even look at like, oh, am I lifting my leg the correct way or something like that, but to like look at myself, and it's not easy, and it does feel embarrassing, and it is a comfort zone stretch, so I'm not doing it for the whole time yet, but I'm easing myself in. But I've noticed like it does shift something. And then yesterday I went to yoga, and my shirt was like a little lower and my cleavage was showing, and I was like, I'm leaving it. And I was like, I'm just going to be the person who lets my cleavage show. A total comfort zone stretch. But that's my new strategy for the gym, because fitness for me is like, it's always been kind of more of like an obligation than like a love. And so, but I'm always loving to like, because I love to be in my mind. And so for me, personal growth, and like there's like a mental challenge now that actually makes going to the gym an exercise in personal growth, which helps me motivate myself to go to the gym more. It's like I found a secret little motivation in going to the gym. Like, I'm going to like look at my eyes in the mirror while I dance. Oh my God, it's going to be so scary, but I know it'll be do good things for me. Like even that more than the fitness of it. It's weird.
Yeah. I totally get that. It's like a 2-for-1. And it's because you have to find those ways to motivate yourself sometimes. And the way to do it, I think, is to know, well, what just naturally motivates you. Like you're someone who's constantly on a quest for personal development, spiritual development, that kind of thing. So it's like, you're like, oh, how can I reframe working out so that not only am I working out, I'm actually getting in like a good dose of personal growth. I think that's awesome.
Right. You know, a good friend of mine, Cody, shared something about that. He said, if you find what you value, like if you really find your top core values, and then there's the things that you know you want to do. It's kind of maybe got some should energy, but it's not even like a should, an imposed should. It's like I really do want that thing for myself. Like for me, fitness, I do want that, but I don't connect to it in the way that like maybe I've been trying to connect to it. So it's like when you find what you really, really value, how can you turn that thing, how can you, like you said, reframe what you value in that experience? So that then that experience all of a sudden feels totally differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whatever it is.
Completely. And I think that your story that you just shared it's cool to think about that from a business perspective too. Like if you think about, I'm sure we all have, because if you're an entrepreneur, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm assuming everyone else does, is you're always encountering other entrepreneurs and what they're doing, like what they're up to, the way they present themselves online, like whether you want to call it their branding or just the way they carry themselves or whatever. And for me, I totally geek out on, I just love seeing how every individual entrepreneur that I encounter in my journey is, like how they are in the world, how they inhabit their own world, what they're all about. And if you think about different things about different entrepreneurs that maybe trigger certain things in you emotionally, and then, like, I love your idea of then allowing yourself to maybe go there personally, like, in your business. That could be huge. Like, that would be an amazing opportunity for growth and probably blast open the doors to, more money coming in, more, like, all that good stuff. When you kind of allow yourself to be a bit uncomfortable and just see that the world didn't end, and in fact that there are amazing gifts that sometimes come with doing the things that you're like, oh, I could never do that, I could never. It's like, well, why not? Like, I love seeing the way some people present them. Like, for example, I forget her name, but anyway, there are a few people who do this where they're very much about this sort of like, I would say luxury is a big part of their brand, It's like, it's luxury, it's wealth, it's the best of the best, it's very, you might say in advertising speak, aspirational, But it also, I think, triggers something in a lot of people, myself included a little bit. I'm always, there's like a little twinge. But then it's like, I don't know, like maybe it would be cool to try out being like, this is me, and I'm like, do like a photo shoot, for example, like book yourself a photo shoot for your website or something, and have it be, you know, I'm going to play with just this total look of luxury and whatever. It's just an example, but
yeah,
it's fun. It's this whole new, it's like pushing the envelope creatively that allows you to actually push the envelope of your spirit a little bit.
Totally. Like I used to judge promotion, like just promotion, and how can you have a business if you do not allow yourself to promote? Like you have to. So yeah. And so another thing too, like for you, I was thinking, because I know that you really value freedom, and we were talking offline ahead of time about kind of like just doing things the way you want to do them. And so, you know, for example, like if there's something that normally feels restrictive and you go like launching or something, like this type of way of launching feels restrictive, but what I really value is freedom. How could I infuse freedom in the experience of this launch? I don't know. I'm curious if you can share more about that, because you were talking about doing things the way you want to do them and just kind of big fat permission slip. Like, I don't care how everyone else does it. I think I'm going to do this because I want to.
I'm just going to do it this way. Yeah. So, as you were saying, freedom is one of my top values. My top 3 values, I would say, are freedom, creativity, and wonder. Those are probably my
wonder.
My favorite.
That's awesome.
Yeah, wonder, magic, sort of same idea. And freedom is a huge one for me. Like if my freedom is at all kind of infringed upon, not that I have people being like, you need to do this and whatever, but like even if I overbook myself, if like I have too many schedules on my calendar, if I have too many appointments on my calendar or anything like that, it's like immediately I kind of start to get like very uncomfortable. I'm like, wait a second, what's going on? Oh no, freedom is being taken away. Must have freedom. So anyway, freedom for me is something that I need to be very diligent about making sure that I build into everything that I do. And it's really been like in my business, and it's really been a learning journey, because I also have a tendency to want to kind of overgive. So the two sort of fight with each other a little bit, and then sometimes I'm like, oh no, I just committed to doing this whole big thing, and like, oh no, the freedom, it's going to be taken away. So it's a bit of a dance. Anyway, so what I was thinking about recently is with my launch I've been working on, I had convinced myself I needed to do it a certain way, which is a way that I've done it in the past, which is, so you're releasing a course or a program and there's a lead up to it. So there's, like I would do sort of a whole mini course that would happen before the main course would even start. And it was a lot of work and would require a ton of my time, and you never 100% know if it's going to pan out, but it's a ton of work. And I was thinking just yesterday about this, and I was like, you know what? I was like, what would it look like if I just did this launch just the way that I plain old want to do it? Like, what if I didn't hold myself to this weird standard of, well, it needs to be done in this way, and there needs to be this whole big lead up, and otherwise it's not going to work. I was like, what if I just do it the way I want to do it? And so I spent a few minutes sitting down thinking through, well, how would I do it in an ideal world? And what I came up with was, well, really, all I really want to do is, it was like, what do I want to be able to do is kind of the way I looked at it. And what I want to be able to do is just put up the sales page, because it's fun for me to make sales pages because I'm excited about things that I put out there. And like, as it is for a lot of people, but I really geek out on it for some reason. So create the sales page, put it out there, and just be like, here it is, kind of like take it or leave it, and not have to do all this extra work that's gonna, take away my free time and all that. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. And it kind of had this like delicious, mischievous feeling to it. I'm like, oh my God, could I really do that? Like, is that allowed? Like, could I give myself a permission slip for that? And then I had this whole other funny vision that's been swimming around in my head for a few months now about, I for some reason love the idea of being, it's kind of embarrassing, being like kind of like this oracle who sits on a cushion or a papasan chair or something in this beautiful space. And I can just have people coming to see me, and I can just help them. And it's not about, there are no appointment times or anything like that, because that would interfere with my freedom. But instead, people would be able to just show up. I would be able to help them, you know, sort of counseling / intuitive stuff, and then send them on their way, and their problem would be, you know, shifted, or that it would have some kind of transformation, and that would be really gratifying to me. And so I was like, oh, I've been wanting to do that for a while, but I had no idea how I would incorporate that into real life, because, I mean, how many people, you have to have a lot of people who know about you to, like, show up at your house and have, like, a bunch of people who are lined up to see you. I was like, wait a second, maybe I can incorporate that into the launch and just be there on Skype all day or something, and have people, if they have questions about the program, to be able to just buzz me on Skype, and we can chat, and I can help them figure out if it's right for them. And I was like, oh my God, that would be so much fun. I would love that. Anyway, so I determined that's what I want to do, and I'm just going to do it. It's kind of, it's totally not the traditional launch model, but to me, it will be fun, and it's what I genuinely want to do. And I don't know, I think we all just need to give ourselves permission to do things the way we want to, no matter how specific and weird that way may be.
It's so interesting and cool because, I mean, who knows? It's all an experiment, right? Which is part of Business Magic Laboratory. But maybe that'll actually be really, really successful for you. If it is, it's probably in part because it just feels really good. But also, maybe that will actually be like maybe other people will take your lead and copy that. Like, maybe that's what's the word? Ingenuitous, innovative, whatever. But like, ingenious, new way of launching. Because at some point, think about like the whole like there are 3 videos and then you're invited into the course. Like, that was created at some point out of kind of the same thing that you're doing. Like, what would be a way that I could get this message out there in a way that feels really good? Oh, I could give content and give content and give content and then invite, or like, you know, so at some point things get invented. And so maybe you're inventing a whole new way for launches to happen. Who knows? We'll find out.
Maybe. Who knows? I'm excited to see what happens. And it's so liberating to just be in a space now where I have officially given myself that permission.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about, Anna and I, if you haven't listened to Business Magic Laboratory before, we talk about permission slips all the time because it's so important. It's like, even if consciously you know I can do business however I want to do business, still subconsciously there's this layer that sometimes needs to be handed the permission slip to be like, you can do this however you want. It's okay. This is about creating the life and the business that is done precisely on your terms, no matter how weird or outside of the box those may be. And it's just, we have a hard time giving ourselves that permission. But it's like, once you've given it to yourself, it's like, oh, well, okay, I'm just going to go do it then.
Yeah, and if you're having a hard time giving it to yourself, then just reach out to an entrepreneurial buddy and say, hey, can I have permission? And they'll say yes. Or reach out to us and we'll tell you yes.
Yeah, exactly. You can like leave a comment on the Business Magic Laboratory website. We have Facebook comments below each episode. If you need a permission slip, just tell us what you need a permission slip for and we will respond and give you one. And you will be amazed that it's so freeing. It's a great feeling.
And we'll take a little magic wand. Bing, permission granted. So 2 things. First of all, Amanda, when you do this, like Oracle day, I hope that you actually have like a really beautiful plush pillow or something that you're going to be sitting on, and like an environment that's like totally the Oracle, because I think it'll be fun.
I know. I need to do it the right way. Like, I need to just go all out with like some sort of metallic cushions and maybe some sort of like silver tray with like an ornate teapot or something.
Yes. and have your husband like scheduled for the day to like bring you tea and like feed you grapes or something.
Yeah, definitely. I tell him, I'm like, get ready, this is what we're doing on Saturday.
Yeah. You're going to be wearing a toga and you're going to be fanning me with palm leaves every 15 minutes, coming in, oiling me up, giving me a massage. So second thing I wanted to say is that what you're talking about is actually, the Business Magic Laboratory is actually a perfect example of doing things the way you want, because as Amanda shared, we talked about how do we want to do this for a couple months, and it was, I think it just wasn't feeling 100% right because we were kind of putting too much structure to it, or, you know, and it was finally when we just surrendered and let go of it and said, like, when it happens, it'll happen. Then it was like 2 weeks later, it all of a sudden became clear because we just let it go and like released the balloon or whatever. And the name became clear, the structure became clear, which was basically show up and do what we want. Show up when we want. Like, it's not like every Friday at 11. It's just when we're inspired, we create an episode. And even the way that the website is, because we don't have a gateway, you don't have to opt in to be able to listen to an episode. They're just there for free for anybody to show up and listen to at any time. And then if you want to get notifications, you can choose to subscribe, and we will then send you notifications every time an episode is there. But we just we said, okay, maybe somebody would say the smart way to do it is have an opt-in page so that you collect emails before people can even listen to an episode. And we were like, nah, that doesn't really feel like what we want to do. So, yeah. So anyway, businessmagiclaboratory.com is where you go if you want to check it out. And this will be there. This is in this video. You might be watching this there if you're not watching it in Business Heroine Magazine. And then you'll see all the other episodes there too, and they're audio, and you can download them to your computer or to your iPad or your iPhone and listen to them in the car or whatever. But it was all created out of inspiration and doing what the heck we want.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well said.
Yeah. So one of the ways that Amanda often takes us home when we're winding up an episode of Business Magic Laboratory is with a goddess card. So I'm wondering if you can read us one today.
Yeah, absolutely. So to those who are not familiar with goddess cards, this is a deck of oracle cards. Let's see if I can hold it up. It's a Doreen Virtue deck. It's one of my favorites. So it's goddess guidance oracle cards. And I love them. They're very powerful. They always provide timely messages. So let's see if we have one that's going to send us off into whatever we're all doing next after we finish watching or filming this video. Okay. So what we got is Sarasvati. Let's see if I can show her to you guys. She is the goddess of the arts. Express yourself through creative activities. And this actually, I think, is perfect because one thing we didn't mention about the Business Magic Laboratory is that we highly recommend after you listen to an episode, or while you listen to an episode, that you use it as kind of like a fuel up type of thing, like a creative recharge, so that you can listen and then go back to your desk or your office or whatever and have dedicated time, if you feel inspired to do so, to really move forward with whatever that project is that you're working on, or just take a big, bold step forward, because we tend to give it a lot of permission slips, and hopefully they kind of get to you by osmosis as well. Yeah, so that's one of our intentions for the show, right? To let people just get that fuel that they need to keep going on their journey, because it is, it's a journey that requires some fuel, the entrepreneurial journey.
It is, and that's where our whole tagline came up. Imagination brews, inspiration bubbles, and action ignites. So it's kind of just going into the world of wonder and letting it, have its energy, and then like letting that inspiration bubble up and then taking action. So we hope that it provides that for you. Will you read that card one more time? Because it was also kind of perfect for our conversation today.
Yeah, sure. So I just put it back in it's Sarasvati. And let me just find her in the book as well, so I can tell you. Let's see. Okay. Express yourself through creative activities. And the message is, you're a limitless being. If it seems that you have time, money, or other restrictions, it's simply because your mind is focused upon the material world. You can unlimit yourself by lifting the cloak of the material world from your focus. Music is essential for the expression of non-material ideals and energies. Music colors our surroundings with emanations from the highest vibrational fields. It allows us to escape all limitations in our thinking and very existence. Surround yourself in music, just holding like a sort of a guitar type of thing, and allow it to stimulate your own creative thinking and to spark new ideas. Flow with the music and give yourself permission to investigate and experiment with putting your creative ideas into action. Enjoy being limitless.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That last sentence was like, or the second to last sentence was like exactly what we just said. Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, that's what happens when you step into Business Magic Laboratory. Magic happens. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and join us again at businessmagiclaboratory.com. There's some episodes already there waiting for you, and there are more to come. And Amanda, thanks for hopping on video with me today and for being my partner on the cover. It was so fun to be actually on the cover of this magazine and to be there with you. So.
Yeah, thank you. Fun reciprocal interview.
Yeah, interview. Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye for now.
You have been watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out what's new at businessheroinemagazine.com today.